You're listening to the Telltale channel. Don't forget to check me out on all social media: Patreon, Twitter, Teespring, and Etsy. All links can be found in the description or on my website, telltaleatheist.com. August figures for Ark Encounter attendance are out. So how's the Ark Encounter been faring through the pandemic? Well, if you remember, I covered this story back in May or June too. There was a complete shutdown in April, so they had 0 visitors and made $0 from admission fees. That was down from about 80,000 attendees the previous year. May saw 2,047 attendees, down from 90,000 the previous year. From June, things started to return to normal. 40,434 attendees, down from 124,230 the previous year. July had 57,632 attendees, down from 160,124 from 2019. And finally, the August numbers show they had 46,562 attendees, down from 104,350 in 2019. I'm honestly surprised their numbers weren't higher, considering the fact that the demographic they appeal to is the exact demographic that's most likely to think the virus is a liberal hoax and refuse to wear masks. But attendance was basically 32% of normal in June, 36% of normal in July, and 45% of normal in August. Still pretty high, especially considering the fact that they don't add anything of value to people's lives. It isn't an essential service by any stretch of the imagination. At best, it's considered a vacation spot. Either way, I guess we can be glad attendance was down at all for something like this. Don't forget, they're tax exempt, which means they don't contribute to society in any way, but they do benefit from the roads, bridges, and education system that you and I pay for. Despite that fact, they still got between $1 and $2 million from the government through the Paycheck Protection Program. So now, not only are they not giving anything back to society, they're taking millions of dollars from us too. Money that could be better spent on educating our kids. Robert Jeffress decided to weigh in on the Supreme Court vacancy the other day. He tweeted, "The Ginsburg court vacancy could not have come at a more opportune time for President Trump. Suddenly, COVID and Woodward are nothing but background noise. Maybe to him, but a couple kids in a neighboring school just caught the virus, so they shut down the entire school. They shut down every school in my area. Almost 1,000 people have died in the past month in the U.S. 43,000 people caught it. That's 43,000 grandparents, 43,000 children, 43,000 moms and dads, 43,000 families are suffering right now, worrying about their family members, worrying about who they might give it to, worrying about whether or not they're going to lose somebody they grew up with, somebody who cared for them. The fact that this pastor only seems to care about Donald Trump is kind of disturbing, but not surprising." The school called me the other day and told me that Kylie was exposed and needs to quarantine. The next day, she got really sick, like runny nose, sore throat, coughing, sneezing, the whole 9 yards. So we went and got tested, all 3 of us, me, Kylie, my girlfriend, and we just got our results back today. We were all negative. So I guess it was just a normal cold. But either way, I have somebody else handling parts of my business for, ease and for safety, things like that. So we're still quarantining either way until October 6th. Pastor Robert Henderson says Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg recent passing was no accident. He says he's been praying for it. I don't know what kind of monster you'd have to be to pray for somebody's life to come to an end, but here we are. That's the kind of political climate we're in right now. He says, quote, "We were in the meeting on Monday night in D.C., and I told them, look, we need to go to the courts of heaven right now and shut the mouth of the lion judicially. We need to ask for judgment against the lion that's been devouring and intends to devour from the Supreme Court. We need to get a judgment against the lion that Paul said God shut the mouth of." So I led us into that place. Well, guess what? Ruth Bader Ginsburg has passed away. That's no accident. He goes on to say, somebody said, "Now how could you have the authority to do that? Because we're a house of prayer. A house of prayer that's representing a culture can stand in the courts of heaven and get verdicts rendered out of heaven that will allow God's will to be done." He says it's about a blood altar that's inviting demonic powers into the nation. I'm telling you, these people are completely unhinged. They're extremists, and they hold a lot of political power. This is the biggest voting bloc in the country, evangelicals. This is who they are. This is what they believe. I haven't voted Republican because I don't want to further the goals of people like this. This week on the podcast, people of praise. I've talked about them before, but they're coming up in the news right now because Trump's Supreme Court nominee, Amy Coney Barrett, is a member. We'll get to her in a minute, but what is People of Praise? It was founded in 1971 in Indiana by 29 people. It's a parachurch organization. If you're Christian, you're welcome, including Catholics and Protestants. By the 80s, the World Christian Encyclopedia claims they had up to 10 million participants in the U.S. For context, Jehovah's Witnesses have about 8.5 million members, and Mormonism has about 15 million now. The original group from South Bend, Indiana, currently has about 350 members. They have groups in as many as 13 states, and interestingly, they apparently have communes. To live on the commune permanently, you have to go through a ceremony where you pledge to attend weekly meetings and, quote, to care for each other, physically, financially, materially, and spiritually. There's a lot more to learn about this group. I haven't gotten into the true cult-like behavior outside of the commune stuff, so stay tuned for more about them. Speaking of people of praise, as I mentioned before, Trump's Supreme Court Justice nominee, Amy Coney Barrett, is a member. So who is she? What's she all about? What's she believe in? She's written some articles as a law student, which gives us some insight into how she views the world. She said, quote, "We believe that Catholic judges, if they're faithful to the teachings of their church, are morally precluded from enforcing capital punishment. This means that they can neither themselves sentence criminals to death nor enforce jury recommendations of death." So I think it's pretty clear this woman believes religion comes before law. Always. In the case of capital punishment, I agree with her. I don't believe in capital punishment. Mainly my reason is because 4% of the people on death row are completely 100% innocent. Wrong place, wrong time. They had nothing to do with what happened. They're about to be punished for a crime they didn't commit. Until that number is zero, as long as that doubt is there, I can't justify doing it to anybody at all. The point is, she would be willing to go to jail to follow her religious standards rather than the law. The worst part is the fact that she is fervently Christian and fervently Republican. She's honestly one of the last people I'd want in a position as important as the Supreme Court. A famous cult leader from Siberia known as Jesus of Siberia has been arrested by Russian authorities. They call him Vissarion. He was born Sergei Torop. The Church of the Last Testament started in 1989. The existence of the group hasn't exactly been secret. He was accused of brainwashing people and taking their money years ago. Becoming vegan is a requirement. They live on a commune, and you aren't allowed to exchange money as long as you're on the commune. Followers count years starting from 1961, the year Vissarion was born. And Christmas was replaced by a feast day on January 14th. His birthday. There's a lot of speculation and questioning about why he's been arrested now of all times, but it honestly doesn't come as a big surprise to me. Russia's been cracking down hard on religious movements for a while now. Jehovah's Witnesses just got banned a few years ago. Why? Why are they doing this? Vladimir Putin's power base is largely built on the church. It's like evangelicalism in the US. Trump is powerful, but only if evangelical Christians back him. If they turned on him, he'd be in bad shape. Now, it's not exactly the same with Putin. I think he'd be fine whether the church supported him or not, but they still play a role in his power base. This is partly an educated guess, but I think he's been going around banning smaller religious movements because he doesn't want anybody around to challenge his power.